Fire, 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 fire.
What does it say? Never take exercise advice from this health expert? Bro, what part of health is this? Does she eat the health or what? What's going on here? What?
Exercise. It makes you happier, healthier, stronger, able to live out your final years on this earth with dignity and freedom.
Yay!
Exercise is just such a wholesome and helpful thing. Yet there are some people who think that encouraging exercise or even talking about it is toxic. And one of these people was just hired as a public health consultant.
I feel like the #1 criteria for being a public health consultant is that you have to be healthy. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of like in the name. I had a really fat ballerina teacher one time when I was like a little kid. My parents took me to a ballerina course because I wanted to be a ballerina when I was like 6 years old. And she was extremely fat and she literally couldn't move. She would sit in like in the middle while we like pranced around. And my parents eventually stopped like taking me to the ballet course because they were like, yeah. Did she smoke? No, she did not smoke. She was just extremely fat. She literally couldn't stand up. I remember it too. I was only 6, but I remember it very distinctly. And now looking back at it, I'm like, God bless the USA. The best part, this was not in the USA. She said that she became fat because she was sick of being skinny and being told that ballerinas have to be skinny. And this was years ago. She was ahead of her time.
This is Virgie Tovar. You may have already heard that the city of San Francisco brought her on a few months ago as a consultant for the public health department. The problem? Well, as we'll see in this video, Virgie is not a very big fan of health. And recently she's taken this to a new extreme. Recently, Virgie's been hating on exercise. Guys, I've been really trying not to talk about body positivity anymore. I made my points. I'm not trying to beat a dead horse. The ideas put forth by the body positivity and health at every size movements are silly. They don't make any sense. They're just not logical.
The best way to win the war against fat is to give up the fight.
But the public health department thing caught my eye and made me wonder, what's Virgie up to lately? So I go check out her Instagram and I see she has a problem with exercise now. So I'm like, fine, we're making the video. So I guess today we're catching up with Virgie's fresh takes on exercise, health, and weight loss.
Wait, so to beat cancer, you have to let cancer win? Ooh, okay, that's a new wave of logic.
And childhood obesity. Virgie was actually recently on Dr. Phil, and that's a large amount of what they discussed.
Does anybody disagree that we stop childhood obesity? Do you disagree with that?
I mean, I just think that it's a very big phrase, right? Like, at the end of the day, right, body diversity is a real thing. There are naturally bigger people. There are naturally smaller people.
Sure.
So yeah. But first up, a very brief overview of her new job. You may already know who Virgie is, you may not, but Virgie Tovar is a prominent, quote-unquote, fat activist who recently—
You have the right to remain fat. That's not what nature says. Yeah, like, nature doesn't care about your feelings. You have the right to remain fat, but you might not remain fat for long.
accepted a new job. The San Francisco Department of Health's new weight czar has gone viral for her proclamation that no one has to be healthy.
What is your definition of health?
No one has to
eating. Yes, I want to eat 10 pounds of ice cream. Chad, I want to eat 20 Big Macs in one sitting. Should I do that? Probably not. I want to. I want to eat 50 chicken nuggets. Is it good for you? No. It's almost like self-restraint is a good thing. Yeah. 4 pizzas and 1 salad is the same thing. Yeah, obviously.
be healthy. No, right?
She's been hired to be a voice in the room reminding officials about stigmas faced by overweight people while they are developing public health initiatives. Virgie has a lot of very extreme views about health and weight, so I was so surprised when I saw this hire. And for me, I feel very, very strongly that I owe myself health and I owe everyone that I love health. I think I have a duty to everyone in my life to try to be behaviorally healthy. Like, I can't help if I get a disease, but I can at least try to live in a way that doesn't cause everyone else around me anxiety.
And to top it off, kids like to follow their parents. When I see a really fat fucking kid, I always have to check and see what their parents look like. Because 99% of the time, it's a mom or a dad in a wheelchair that are massive that can't walk anymore. Or in like a, what is it called, little scooter that they like let you drive around in. Yeah, a fat kid has an abusive parent. I genuinely think it's like a form of abuse, genuinely. Clearly it's genetic, Alana. Stop being anti-fat diversity. You're so right, queen. Yas, queen. It is child endangerment! I don't think people take it seriously enough. My parents always ate just like me. So, like, I learned to eat like them. Even if I didn't like certain things, they still made me eat certain things and said, hey, you have to eat your broccoli. Yeah, they weren't like, oh yeah, you don't, I don't have to eat the broccoli, you have to. It's like, they always ate what I did.
Way I think about it. And that doesn't mean you have to like run marathons, but I think that trying a bit is your moral duty to a degree. And I don't know if everyone has to agree with that philosophy, but it probably should be your philosophy if you have a role in public health. Like, if your job is literally to increase the health of the public, you should have a basic interest in health. Because if you—
No, you don't. If you want to be a engineer that builds bridges, you shouldn't have an engineering degree. No, you shouldn't be good at math and like physics and figuring that stuff out. Why would you?
don't care about health,
You don't
that's
need
cool.
bridges.
You have the right to go set up a casino and cigar stand over there. But you probably shouldn't take a role in public health. I feel like that is
Built
extreme.
based on
But it says her
vibes.
job is to remind officials about stigmas faced by overweight people while they are developing public health initiatives. Now, at first glance, I see nothing wrong with hiring someone to be like, hey, don't worry about your weight, just focus on engaging in healthy behavior. That's a very helpful message. That could be the message that some people need to hear in order to do what they need to do to be healthy. Get your sleep, eat well, be active, try to make progress, and just do what you can from where you're at. If that was the message that Virgie was hired to promote, I see that as a positive thing, even if I don't agree with the rest of her ideas. But when I looked into it, Virgie's opinion actually seems to be the opposite of that. And
I think that people that take it too far, where they say, oh, well, you know, if I'm 20 pounds over the average weight, that means that I'm obese. I don't think that that's, like, it's not a reason to bully someone, but when you're so fat you can't fucking walk and you have to get a mobility scooter and you just can't stop yourself from consuming food, that's when it becomes a problem. I feel like that dog right now, that is a very cute dog in the background. There's a genetic condition where your body doesn't produce hormones that tells your brain full leptin, so you're always hungry. People with this condition often end up with obesity. That said, you can still make choices to exercise and do your best to watch your food intake. But you're also saying that it's a genetic condition. It's rare. Not everyone in America, like 33% of America is morbidly obese or obese. That's like, I get it, but like at the same time, that's not everyone. People are just fucking fat.
nowhere is that more
They wanna
clear
eat
than her
food.
ideas surrounding exercise. So let's go take a look at her Instagram. Let's start first with this Instagram post. Virgie recently conducted a weight bias training to a group of government workers. And this training included the following 4 tips. Ending weight/food bias at work. Helping to decrease stigma around food and bodies at work means doing less of these 4 things.
What?
Number 1, talk less or not at all about how you or others eat at work. Okay, this is already a pretty big ask of your coworkers, I think. Obviously by this, Virgie really means don't talk about your diet. Do not talk about keto, paleo, carnivore, veganism, calorie count.
I don't think you should tell other people, like, oh, hey, fatty, like, you should stop eating less. I think that's inappropriate, but, like, you discussing your dieting isn't, like, a crime. What if someone asks you a question, they're like, oh, what's this? And you're like, oh, this is my paleo, like, salad or something. I don't fucking know. I don't do paleo. I'm just saying, like, oh, yeah, like, it's not that big a deal. They're acting like talking about that kind of thing is like offensive somehow.
Counting, protein consumption, sugar reduction, or any other way that suggests that you are moderating what you consume, which is a major double standard because let's be real here. What would Virgie's opinion be if Nancy from accounting brought cake to the office?
It's so rich.
You
I want my 2 seconds back. What was that? I feel like my brain just blacked out for a second.
know that talking about that office cake would be completely fine and perhaps encouraged. Well, unless someone asked for the smaller slice.
CRFI. Inevitably, there's always someone at the party who has to declare publicly that their slice is too large.
Like there's
Oh my god. That's wait, that's actually so much worse than what I was trying to even think. Like, I was trying to imagine imaginary scenarios, and this is so much worse. Yeah, it's my- you're shaming someone for wanting a smaller slice of cake?
no way that Virgie is talking about outlawing talking about food in general because she spends half of her Instagram
Holy
talking about what she's
shit,
eating.
man.
So obviously
Holy shit, man. She can't help herself. I think this is a form of, like, exhibitionism. No, like, actually, I think this is, like, a form of exhibitionism. It's, like, narcissistic to some degree. Yeah.
talking about what she's eating. So obviously anyone would be allowed to talk about
love
worshiping junk
food.
food at the office, but no one would be allowed to talk about trying to improve their blood sugar levels. It's just a little bit backwards. It's a little bit over the top. And
What if you have diabetes and you can't have, like, Coca-Cola or whatever, like soda, and you're like, hey guys, is there an option for, like there's like a function or something, and they say, hey, can I have water? Because, like, all of this stuff has sugar in it. She's like, oh my god! She, like, fucking freaks out and, like, fucking throws the diabetic out the window and it's, like, screams at them. Virgie is 42 and she looks like she's 62. Yeah, being fat ages you a lot.
it's genuinely concerning that this was part of a presentation given
That's
to a
wild.
government organization. Okay, next tip. Number 2, talk less or not at all about your or others' bodies at work. Okay,
What
that's
is
fine.
that entitled?
Number 3, talk less or not at all about exercise at work.
Okay, bodies, like, sure, whatever, it's none of your business. But, like, holy fuck, like, you can't even say, I'm going to the gym later? That's so cooked! Chat, stop talking about being big and buff in my chat. It makes me uncomfortable. I'm 400 pounds and I eat 5 Big Macs a day. I don't like it that you talk about being big and strong and healthy and don't talk about going outside. It makes me offended. You hear that? Fat bitch.
So this is why I wanted to make this video. Every single person should be annoyed about this. There just ain't no way you're telling people not to talk about exercise at work. First off,
That's
that's
so
like saying you
fucking
can't talk
strong.
about the weather if the weather made your health better in every single way. Exercise is just so unproblematic. It is literally one of the most health promoting behaviors of
True.
all time.
Helps with depression. When I was really, really depressed, I had Juji and I didn't have memory yet. And I was so depressed, it would be hard to, like, go outside, but I obviously have to take out my dog because he needs to piss and shit, obviously. And every day he would whine at me, and I'd be like, okay, buddy, we're going out. I love you. We have to go outside. And instantly, it would make me feel better. Even, like, by, like, 5%, it still helps with your mental. And I sometimes would throw the frisbee, too. Yeah, I think that's really healthy. And at the end of the day, it does make you feel better.
Depending on who you ask, sleep might be number one, but exercise is right up there with it. Regardless of body weight, if you exercise a few times a week, really exercise, even if you don't lose a pound of fat, you will be a way healthier human being.
And
Weight loss
mentally-
is hard
mentally.
and not everyone will achieve it, but if everyone just committed to exercise, it would be an absolute game changer health-wise.
Some people also misconstrue with exercise with, like, oh, you have to lift weights. Do you realize that, like, going outside and walking for 45 minutes is exercise. Like at a brisk pace. Not like, you know, leisurely walking. Like at a brisk pace, you could walk for 45 minutes. That's exercise. Just
And
fucking
if someone
walk,
is being
bitch,
hired
so
to
hard.
represent overweight people in the room and not pushing this message, it's just silly. A health expert discouraging discussion of exercise should not exist. But wait, maybe I have it wrong. Maybe Virgie is encouraging people to exercise. She recently held a Reclaiming Movement After Diet Culture workshop.
There's... Hold on, I gotta scroll back. Oh my god, I can't look at that. I'm sorry. Hold on, what does this say? Hate to see how she views the military. I can already hear her calling fat phobic for not wanting obviously unhealthy people dying in the boot from the PT sessions or being out in the field. Yeah, they're gonna start reducing. I think they've already started, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure they reduced the requirement for like passing for the army, like for women and men, as opposed to like 20 years ago. They reduced the max weight. Yeah, I think I read something about that because it's like people are getting so fat and overweight that they have to like lower the average so that more people can get in. Yeah.
To exercise. She recently held a Reclaiming Movement After Diet Culture workshop. My heart is so full after hosting the Reclaiming Movement After
Yeah, I
Diet
know what
Culture
else was
workshop.
full.
Fat phobia, diet culture, and toxic fitness culture try to convince us that there is a line between legitimate exercise and illegitimate movement. Everything else we do all the time, like laugh, breathe, cry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm gonna just stop it right there. Laughing, breathing, hugging, running to get the last... Why do you need a carrot on the stick to exercise? Hello? Bend over to give our fur children a pet. Buddy, that's not exercise. That's an activity. You're just doing an action. That's not exercising.
Hug our pals,
Oh
run
my
to
God.
get the last slice of pizza, make
Cheese
tea,
and crackers.
bend over to give our fur children a pet, have sex,
I'm not gonna make that
This-
joke. I'm not gonna make that joke.
etc.,
Sex?
etc.
What?
Okay, well, there is a line. There's a distinction between running to get the last slice of pizza and exercising.
More like
but
a
I think
waddle.
what's even more concerning is not only do these things not qualify as exercise, they don't even really qualify as movement. This is a whole
Bro, making tea takes 2 fucking minutes. Like, what? Exercise is supposed to burn like a few hundred calories at least, right?
workshop that, in theory, would be just encouraging people to do what they can. Like, lower the bar a bit, but be active in your own way. Do something from where you're at. But with Virgie, we can see that she lowered the bar from exercise to just movement, but then didn't even meet that bar. Let's go through this, okay? Laughing. I mean, you can call it movement. I mean, it's not really voluntary though, so it's kind of on the line. Breathing. Definitely does not count as movement. Crying.
No.
There's been times I would call it movement, I guess. Hugging our pals. I'm not going to qualify that one as movement. You're stationary, most of that. Running to get the last slice of pizza. Ironically, this...
Why isn't it running to the mailbox or something? Like, running to drop off some trash. Why is it, like... Why does it involve food? What are you, fucking animal? Like, what the frick?
Is the most movement that is on this list. Making tea. Again, you are stationary throughout the entire thing, doesn't count. Bending over to give our fur children a pet. It scares me that Virgie's experience with day-to-day movement is so limited that bending over qualifies to her as movement. Have sex. Okay, sure, fine. Exist. Virgie, there is a clear line between exercising and existing. Okay.
Chad, by her logic, me sitting here and fucking yapping is exercise. Think about that for a minute. Me streaming is exercise.
I feel like
I'm
the fact
burning
that
calories.
exists is on this list.
Why am I
Considering that
so
a lot of the time
fat?
when you're existing, it looks like this, and this, and this, I am gonna go ahead and declare
That's me.
that existing is not movement. If you added up the steps from this daily movement, you'd be at like 50 steps. You really would think that the entire point of a workshop like this would be like, you know what, no matter where you're at, you can do something. Go for a walk, go outside and play with your kids, your pets, keep your—
You know what's really sad is that this discredits people who have unironic like anorexia and bulimia and like issues with almond moms. Almond moms being like moms that are obsessed with their children's weights, which is also a form of abuse in my opinion. I think this discredits people who develop eating disorders and have issues with their body weight and their appearance because of the influence that social media and other people have in their lives. And I think it like literally shoots them in the foot. Genuinely. And it is very common. I heard of girls like having their moms like restrict their diet or like what they sent them to school with, right? It's very common. But, like, the other opposite also exists, where people fucking stuff their kids full of food and are like, man, Timmy has, like, fucking 2 heart attacks by age 15. Damn, I just don't know what the fucking problem is.
House really clean. Pick up a sport with your friends. Years ago on the channel, I covered a story of a really inspiring person named Jesse Shand. He was like 600 pounds. He could barely stand up,
bigger
and
than me.
to get started exercising, he literally just flopped around.
Miskers said that at your weight, you could just literally flop around and lose weight.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually true. And that's actually probably better than, what is it called? Like, if he tries to walk and run, he could destroy his ankles and his joints. It's unironically better. Like, we're laughing, but you flopping around on and off the bed is probably better for your joints. Is that how you exercise? Yes, I roll around my fucking apartment. Do it from the bed to the kitchen to the stream.
I laugh, I had to admit. But, let's try that theory.
Yeah! Good
And that
for
honestly
you, man!
was not only movement, that was exercise.
Yeah.
He got his heart rate up, he was sweating, it was exercise, and it changed his life.
Bro,
If we all
good
would
for
just
him,
do what
man.
we can today and do a
Holy
little—
shit! Look at him! Good job, man. What the frick? That's all from fucking moving around his tiny little apartment. That's why I hate when the people are like, oh my god, I'm like 400 pounds and I live in a tiny apartment. I'm like, okay, but like you could just like walk. Try and walk around your tiny apartment. If you get, the most important part is if you start hurting, stop exercising. If you feel like you're in pain, like your muscles, like your joints are in pain, your muscles is a little bit different. It depends what kind of pain you're in. But definitely if your ankles start hurting, stop. Like take a rest. You don't want to ruin your body.
A little bit better tomorrow, we'll find ourselves one day in a better place in life. And so you'd think that would really be the purpose of her being hired. Here are some clips from longevity doctor and author Peter Attia on the value of adding just a little bit of exercise to your life.
What's the difference in all-cause mortality if I go from doing zero exercise to doing just a bit?
Going from zero activity to just 90 minutes a week is about a 15% reduction in all.
What? 15%? I would have thought like 5 or something like that. I don't have like a relative understanding, but still.
Cause mortality.
That's a
So I'm
week
15%
too!
less likely to die.
And if you go from being completely sedentary to just doing 90 minutes a week.
You start looking at the health benefits of,
That's
you know,
insane.
purposeful but not really brisk walking. They're substantial. Walking the dog, the data on gardening. So the health benefits of light physical activity, light exercise, I mean, are substantial.
Going from completely sedentary
Walk
to just
the
doing
dog, true.
some
I can attest
movement,
to that.
not existing or running for pizza type movement, real movement changes your health radically.
Running for pizza, you burnt like what, like I don't know, 50 calories, and then you ate the pizza slice, and you've already consumed 1,000 or something. So like, it's like, you didn't even do anything. You made it worse. Actually, you would have been better off not running for the pizza itself.
Or the better. So you'd think
What
that
the
the point of
frick?
a reclaiming movement workshop would be to promote this message, but instead, Virgie's message was literally this: what if, Instead of trying for more movement each day, we just change the definition of movement. Some of Virgie's finest work, well worth whatever the taxpayers of San Francisco are paying her, I'm sure. Although I did see that the position was worth only like $12,000, so it's not anything crazy.
Yeah, but that's $12,000 that you just basically kind of do nothing for. That's, like, this is a nothing job. Like, I would rather that $12,000 goes to, like, a teacher, like, for extra salary or something that's doing a good job. Like, am I wrong for thinking this? Like, am I fucking cooked for saying, like, if a good teacher, if that $12,000 went to, like, a really good, like principal or something that does a really good job, like take that $12,000 and just give it to them instead.
I mean, given the premises of the workshop, it's probably 12,000 too many. Virgie actually breaks it down further, and it honestly just gets worse. The premises of the workshop were, number one, we are all born movers. The universe is always moving, and so are we.
Well, yeah,
She's literally saying that we're already moving because the planet is rotating.
That's not how it works, but okay.
That's what that says, right? I'm not just... The universe is always moving. That's what that says. See, like, what can we actually do with this? The workshop is persuading people that exercise is unnecessary because the planet is rotating. This is why I don't want to talk about this stuff anymore. It's just, it's too out there for me. I just don't. But it actually blows my mind when I see university after university has invited Virgie to come and speak. She's given multiple speeches at Berkeley, a well-respected American.
By that logic, every time I go to McDonald's and I take the car, that means I'm doing exercise and I'm moving. Because, like, the car's moving and the planet's moving, so that's, like, double movement. Damn. Damn, chat, we figured it out. We gotta start driving the car more.
University. And it actually kind of messes with your head a bit. You're like, am I missing something here? Or is what this person's saying actually not making any sense? Exercise is the rendering of movement into productivity and outcome. Usually that outcome is modification and disciplining of the body, a way of claiming the body as your responsibility rather than the responsibility of the collective.
What? Collective? Are you trying to say that it's everybody else's fault, not just your own? Like, I understand the argument of, like, hey, I can't afford to eat, like, food that's, like, organic from, like, the store, and, like, organic salads are expensive compared to, like, I don't know, like, 10, what is it called? 10 Red Castle burgers? What are they called? Fuck, dude. You know those frozen burgers you can buy and then microwave? Yeah, White Castle, not Red Castle, good lord. Yeah, like, what the hell? Are you saying it's everyone's fault because you're fat?
Exercise is a construction that is designed to generate blame, and that is why it can feel so loaded, so awful, even though it's just 1 foot here, 1 foot there, 1 arm here, and 1 arm there. I don't know where to start.
I mean,
There's so
she's
much wrong.
moving.
This is the perspective of someone who seriously couldn't possibly imagine exercising for any other reason than hating the way that your body looks. But Virgie, you know you have a heart and it is a muscle. You have a brain. I think thus far in society, exercise has had terrible PR. I think something we do a terrible job of in society is bringing home the message that exercise is not just a weight loss thing. It's barely a weight loss thing. It's a life thing. We all need to do it whether we like it or not every single day. And Peter,
unless you're like a fucking construction worker and you like lift poles all day, because that's exercise. It is. It's, oh god, it's like a fucking, like, it's a plague of fucking stupidity. I don't understand. Like, what are we doing, man?
Tia's outlive, he says we'll actually have to train in order to do the following basic activities when we're like 70 or 80. Go for a nature hike through a hilly area, pick up a grandchild, carry in your own groceries, lift a suitcase into an overhead compartment on an airplane, open a jar, have sex, climb.
Lady, I did not want to think about old people having sex. Thank you very much.
Stairs without
that was a
assistance.
flashbang for my brain.
We won't be able to do any of that basic stuff if we don't train for it. In other words, at the time when most people get to retire, they...
In the wise words of the moldy fungus cockroach man named Asmongold, why do you think there's no fat people that are old? Because they fucking die, man. Nobody who's 90 years old is fat and keeps on living, man.
They will have zero quality of life if they
No
don't
lies
train for it.
detected.
And if you're very overweight or obese, which is Virgie's audience, it's who she's been hired to represent, you're actually going to need to exercise even more to account for this. And I know a lot of people aren't motivated by who they'll be when they're older. But if you also just want to be your best self in general, like today, exercise is inseparable from this. If you want to have your best brain today, you need to exercise today. I was actually reading this other book,
True.
Spark. About
There's a connection between dementia, exercise activity, and mental exercise, of like solving puzzles and like playing video games and playing musical instruments. That helps against dementia. There's research in that, but exercise is also a factor. Yeah, learning languages. You're completely right.
the benefits of exercise. There's a school in America that has these students exercising first thing in the morning, but like it's one of their classes, and they're doing really hard exercise, and they're finding that the kids that are taking this class first thing in the morning are crushing the rest of the day. I'll do a video on this book in the future. It's actually wild. And it's really the same with healthy eating too, though. If you want to have your best day today, not to mention when you're old, you gotta eat healthy today. Mood, energy, memory, learning, just general like quickness and zippiness of your brain, that is all governed by movement and food and other stuff. But
what a nice
those are important.
lady. I'm
So
getting
yeah,
educated.
Virgie, fuck off. Like if you have a problem with the entire concept of exercise, it's fair to not like it, okay? But if you hate it this much, you have to do some inner work, and you probably should not hold a position in public health of any kind. Like hating on exercise because of your experience with diet culture is like hating on vegetables. Oh yeah, that's right. Virgie and her friends did a whole skit hating on vegetables too.
Why can't we just start hating on like pizza and McDonald's instead? Those damn vegetables. And they're like referring to people in like their deathbed that can't talk. That's actually what it meant. It didn't mean like actual vegetables.
Die, Kale, die! You vegetables! Die, veggie scum! Look at what we can do when we work together to vanquish patriarchy! I mean vegetables.
Vegetables equals patriarchy. What in the fucking world am I hearing?
Not only that, but Virgie has had some really terrible takes on childhood obesity recently too. And I can't show you too much of their conversation because Dr. Phil is notorious for copyright strikes.
yeah.
But I'm gonna take the risk for Virgie's views on childhood obesity. Dr. Phil had Virgie Tovar on his show along with this like fit, pro-health medical doctor, and at some point he blatantly asks Virgie if she disagrees with the idea that we should end childhood obesity.
Does anybody disagree that if we can stop childhood obesity from a health standpoint, that we should? Does anybody disagree with that? Do you
I love Dr. Phil because he just says like the most normal shit sometimes, and he just finds people that disagree with him, and then he like farms like shocked faces like, what did you just say? He's a great farmer for content, like props to him. Do you disagree with killing children slowly? And she's like, well, actually, fuck them kids. It's like, bro,
disagree with that?
What do you think Virgie says to that? Well, she basically just flat out refuses to answer the question and just kind of stutters.
I just think that it's a very big phrase. Right? Like at the end of the day, right? Long-term dieting sets people up to gain weight over
said
time.
anything about diet.
yeah, if you do it incorrectly. Yes, I've heard horror stories of young women that get psyoped by their crazy health nut moms. And then when they finally grow up or their mom passes away, they become really fat because they have a very unhealthy view of food, and they basically just develop an eating disorder. Yeah, like I totally understand the logic of saying that, but then on the other hand, that's not a case with everyone.
So Dr. Phil straight up asks her, if you could push a magic button and end childhood obesity, knowing all the health and life problems that it causes, would you do it?
If you can push a button and keep a child from experiencing obesity, that's not
We
what
don't have that button.
I ask you.
That's her response. She's not going to put an end to childhood obesity because childhood obesity is the result of body diversity. Childhood obesity is natural.
That seemed to me like a question that anybody would say yes to. If you could stop childhood cancer, would you say yes to that?
Well, I think what's hard is we're using the word obesity.
The fact that you can't even say yes is crazy to me. The guy says, would you want to end childhood cancer? And she's like, what? Like, you should be like, yes, of course, period.
Obesity when there's actually body diversity, right? Like,
Dude,
there
he's
are
a great
people in this
farmer,
room
bro.
who have children who are naturally in larger bodies.
Ma'am, you're really not
larger bodies. What? But my brain, like, what? Are you acting like these people like choose to get into a fat body? What?
Going to put an end to childhood obesity. So yes, Virgie would not put an end to childhood obesity, even though she went through it herself and had a rough time. She would not put an end to it.
Body diversity is a real thing.
To suggest that childhood obesity happens because of the body diversity thing, it's just not rooted in reality. Like, it's so silly that I would not be talking about this seriously if San Francisco didn't hire her and Berkeley didn't invite her to speak. Like,
your taxpayer dollars in California went towards her salary of $12,000. If I lived in Cali, I'd be so pissed. Outside of living in Cali, I meant, like, you know, this specific instance.
But he has to say something. Like, obviously, we're not all genetically the same. We have different reasons for being different body sizes. But body diversity to the tune of children being morbidly obese didn't exist in the 1970s. This number has steadily...
12K isn't much, to be honest. That's so low. I agree, but I would prefer that $12,000 gets split amongst a bonus check for teachers in schools that need it. I would... because this is such a nothing job. I explained this earlier. I just wish we would put money towards things that actually matter. This is so dumb. She's doing nothing.
Risen for the last 60 years, up from basically zero. And at some point, Dr. Phil completely calls her out and says, you just want to run an agenda about discrimination and ignore health.
You're wanting to run an agenda about discrimination and ignore health.
But no, I don't want to health. I don't want to ignore health at all. I'm saying that
you do want to ignore health because you want to run a social agenda.
And finally, if we need any
clap.
other evidence that Virgie probably shouldn't hold any sort of role in public health, even if it's only for $12,000, I present you this article. So I found this article on her old blog where she discusses interrupting an obesity research conference. Her and her friend...
If someone interrupted and like started grandstanding about how cancer is actually good for you at a cancer research facility, this would make like national headlines and everybody would laugh at this. Why do we put like obesity on such a fucking pedestal at this point?
Ran into a meeting of researchers and scientists discussing improving the obesity epidemic and interrupted the whole thing by playing music and yelling, correlation isn't causation.
Correlation doesn't equal causation. Eating fat foods and eating a lot doesn't make you fat. You're right. You're right, sweetie. I don't know, man.
And then Virgie was escorted out by a woman who said shame on you to her, to which Virgie thought, if shame belongs anywhere, I thought, it belongs to the people who are at this conference, not us. You mean the scientists trying to help people with obesity? Virgie's thinking is so obviously flawed that at some point on the show, even a 14-year-old clapped back at her.
Not the same thing. Race and the size of your body are just not the same thing.
So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video about a person who quite literally disowns the entire idea of health being hired to a
shocked.
public health position.
I'm
Thank you guys
shocked,
so much
but
for
not
watching,
that
and I'll
shocked.
see you in the next one.
She gets paid $12,000 a year to say this shit. Chat, if you got $12,000 a year for basically spouting garbage, would you take it? I would. In a fucking heartbeat. For doing nothing? That sounds awesome. Yeah, give me that fucking 12K. Fuck yeah. Give me that. Like, on top of your, like, actual, like, fucking job, I would do it. I'd be like, damn, only 12K is pretty good.
Fire, 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 fire.